What's good, family? Let's learn how to read exercise prescriptions. All right, so today's agenda, I'm going to go over a couple of things. Some exercise name acronyms. These are ones that I commonly use in my programs. We're going to talk about sets and reps. We're going to talk about RPE, RIR, and percentages, and tempo. Exercise name acronyms. So these are probably the most common acronyms that I use. Everything from dumbbell or DB equals dumbbell, KB kettlebell, BB barbell, and so forth. So go ahead and take a screenshot of that if needed. And I'm going to move on to the next thing. All right. So next thing, sets and reps. This is the bulk of uh, you know what today's going to be about. So sets and reps. Reps are the number of times a single movement is performed consecutively before resting or changing exercise. So, like if you did 10 squats up and down in a row without stopping, that's 10 reps. A set is all those reps done together, making one set before you rest or change exercises. So, in prescription form, 3 by 10, 3x10 equals three sets of 10 repetitions. So, like, let's say we were watching squats, that's one rep, that's two reps, and that's three reps. So, that would be one set of three reps. All right. Next thing, RPE, RIR, and percentages. Starting out with RPE. So RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion. That's a fancy way of saying how hard something was, how hard it felt, or how challenging it felt on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being this felt extremely hard. RPE is always going to change relative to the sets, reps, weight, and rest that you're doing, and then where you are in your journey, because something that used to feel hard may feel really easy a couple weeks from now. So, example number one, let's say you were doing three sets of 10 reps using RPE 7. That would probably require a different weight than if you were doing two sets of 20. Because you're doing less reps per set, it inherently means you're going to be doing heavier weight for it to be more challenging than if you did 20 set reps for an RPE 7. That means you have to use something lighter in order to use that 20. So the RPE is going to determine what weight you end up using on that. Example number two, let's say you were doing three sets of 10 with 100 pounds and you needed to rest for 1 minute for it to feel like an RPE 8. But if you were to take a 3 minute rest, that probably wouldn't feel like an 8. That would probably feel like an RPE 6 because you're more rested going into it with that given weight. The last one I'm going to use for an example is doing three sets of 10 with 100 pounds. And it used to feel like an RPE 7, but now you've gotten stronger and now it feels like an RPE 5. And that's again because you got stronger over time. So at the end of the day, RPE is how challenging or difficult was this exercise on a scale of 1 to 10. Just understand it's going to vary based on the sets, reps, weight, and rest that you're doing. So you should kind of check after each set. Did that feel extremely hard or did it not? And I'll show you a chart of RPE scale and how that relates with RIR. But just think RPE 10 equals, wow, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. RPE 1 equals, that was the easiest thing I've ever done. Next up, talking about RIR. So this is reps in reserve. It's a measure of effort. It's going to describe how many additional reps you could have done at the end of a set before reaching failure. So, for instance, if you feel like you could have done three more reps on a given set than you were at RIR 3. Um, RPE and RIR are usually inversely related. Not always, but that's generally how it works. For instance, if something felt like an RPE 7, felt like that was pretty challenging, then it means you probably had three reps left in the tank. Okay, that's a great place to train. Generally, RPE 7, maybe to 8, sometimes at 6, those are great places to train. You don't always want to train at, man, I went to failure. I could do no more reps. That's good for hypertrophy, not always great for stuff like max strength, power, and so forth. The last one I want to talk about is percentages. So, percentages is a method of prescribing training intensity or load. Load and intensity are kind of related terms. Um, so, it's a way of prescribing training load or intensity as a percentage of your one rep max being the heaviest weight you could do for a given exercise. And percentages allow you to basically standardize and make it easy to target what you're doing. So, this is the training loading chart from the NSCA. And it shows, the way you read this is the max reps that you did and the percentage of that and then what load that ends up being. You don't have to spend too much time with the stuff down here, although it's helpful. But there's calculators now that help with this. But the max rep load is basically like if I did one rep and that was the max reps I could do, that was 100% of my max reps. If I did two reps and that was the max I could do, that weight was probably 95% of my max. Three reps was probably 93% of my max, right? And so that's how you use, or that's how you can view percentages. RPE and percentages, this is a helpful chart. It is not a hard, fast rule with this chart, but this is very helpful to understand the relationship between reps and RPE. So, for instance, if you did one rep, that was your one rep max, it was 100% of your max, that's going to feel like an RPE 10. You literally couldn't do any more reps. That was the hardest thing you've done. That would be a one rep max RPE 10. Versus let's say you did one rep with 87.8% of your one rep max, that's going to feel probably like a 6.5 RPE again, because it's you could have done for one rep, you could have done way more weight. Therefore, it doesn't feel as hard. So that's that relationship between RPE and percentages. The last thing I want to talk about is tempos. So tempos are usually written in four numbers. The eccentric is the first number, that is the way down. The second number is the isometric pause at the bottom. The third number is the concentric on the way up. And then the fourth number is the top pause. You're not always going to see, sometimes people use three. I often use three digits, but for some exercises, I will use four for the tempo training. So let's look at some examples of this. A 2-1-2-0 means that you're going to do a 2-second eccentric on the way down. Then you're going to do 1 second isometric pause at the bottom. You're going to then go up for 2 seconds on the concentric, and then you're going to do a 0 second isometric pause at the top. Now, this is an example, this next one, this is an example of a 3-digit prescription for tempo. A 4-3-1 means 4 second eccentric down, 3 second isometric pause at the bottom, 1 second concentric on the way up. By not having a fourth number there, it just means we're not really putting much, we don't care what you do for the pause at the top. 0-3-0 is a common one that I use, especially for like ab or any holding type exercise. So 0 second on the way down just basically means go down at a normal pace. I could also write 1-3-1. That would also work. But 0-3-0 is, again, go down at like a normal pace on the eccentric. Then you're going to pause for 3 seconds on the isometric at the bottom, and then you'll go back up on the concentric at a normal tempo. X3X, this final one, anytime you see X, that means explosive. That means do it as fast as you possibly can. So this X3X means you're going to, as fast as you can, go down on the eccentric. Imagine you're like free falling on the way down. Then you're going to pause. You're going to rapidly stop and hold for 3 seconds on the isometric, and then you'll explosively do the concentric contraction on the way up. So those are some tempo examples. Now, putting it all together, these are a couple exercise prescriptions we might see. So, for instance, for a back squat, we're going to do 3 sets of 10 reps at 70% of our one rep max. On this lat pull down, we're going to do 3 sets of 10 at an RPE 7 to 8. Then on the single leg glute bridge, we're going to do 3 sets of 5 with a 3 second eccentric, 3 second isometric, 3 second concentric, and a 3 second isometric at the top. And we're going to do that until we feel like we are at RIR2, or meaning we feel like we could do 2 more reps. That's when we would stop. For push-ups, we got a 10-8-5, meaning first set we do 10 reps, second set 8 reps, third set 5 reps, and we're going to pause for 3 seconds at the bottom on each rep, and we're going to do it at 0 pounds, or sometimes you'll see BW, meaning body weight for the load. The last one for the side delt raise, we're going to do 2 sets of 10 at an RIR 0, which basically means go till failure. Go until you literally can't do any more reps. That would be that prescription. So, this is a summary again of how to read exercise prescriptions. We talked about some acronyms. We talked about sets and reps, what those are. Load prescriptions for RPE, RIR, and percentages, and then tempos. That's it for today. If you got any questions, feel free to DM me or email me. As always, I love y'all. Maximize your potential, spread agape love, and carpe diem. Peace.